Yes, very excited to be here. I'm Katie Lindsey. I am the artistic director of Big Little Theater Company, and I'm also a director myself. And basically, we, over the last 2 years, have been doing a new grant called the Director-Driven Production Grant. And the goal is to sort of spotlight a director's vision for a play and their role in bringing that play to an audience. So the play honors a director and gives production money towards that director's vision. And this year, the recipient is Jessica Hanna. And so we've assembled this awesome panel of fabulous directors of new work to talk about what it means to direct a new play. So thrilled to have Hannah Wolf here, who is a director, the senior artistic producer at Ojai Playwrights Conference, and directing All Around Town, upcoming directing Closing Costs at the Geffen. My And you may know Jessica Hanna, who directed A Rhapsody in Divorce, and who is the artistic director of Outside In, and just fabulous director and supporter of theater community in LA, among many other things. And we have Jennifer Chang, who is an amazing director of new work as well, has directed world premieres at Atlantic Theater Company, South Coast Rep, among many others, and is the head of acting at UCLA. And we have Melissa Coleman-Reed, who is an international theater maker. We've worked together as collaborators, as director collaborators before, directed the world premiere of The Very Best People at IAMA, and also co-facilitates Viewpoints training, Viewpoints drop-ins, Viewpoints training drop-ins here at Outside In. So thanks for joining us. Start with Jessica. Could you tell us the story of your collaboration with Jami Brandli on this play and how we came from the seed of the idea to the production?
Yes. 2015, late one night, because both of our marriages had blown up. There was a late night text of, "What about a female Odysseus?" said Jami, and I was like, "Please, yes," because we were both in the midst of couch hopping and trying to figure out what home was after having home change and what it means for a woman in particular. And those conversations were rich. And then Playwrights Union, they do a month-long challenge to write a play in a month. And in 2018, Jami was like, "I'm going to do that for the thing." And I was like, "Go for it. Yes, that'd be amazing." And if you do that, then you also get a reading of the play. And so I directed the first reading in 2018. And that's where kind of the conversation with this started. Donna Simone was in that reading.
Yeah.
Amazing. Right? Over the years, we've done there's been a couple of other readings. We've worked with a couple other directors on those readings in different workshops, and then it was going to be part of a season in the 2020 that never happened. And so then when this was the beginning, because Outside In started being, the thoughts about Outside In starting were in 2019, so then this became one of the plays that I was like, how about this play? How about this play? And so yeah, we did some workshops on it in 2024 here. And
that was a great workshop.
Yeah, in that workshop, and I did a thing with that workshop where over the course of a week we had 3 days of work, 3 5-hour days, and with time in between for the playwright to work. And each of those days I had an entirely different cast, so that we could hear different voices, hear the lines coming out of different mouths, and also just to really try to stick with working on the play as opposed to the performance. So that was really fruitful, and that was the last workshop before a couple of drafts since then to get to here.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I'd love to hear from others how you meet playwrights that you collaborate with, and then what is the journey of building trust to the point where they say, "I'd like you to direct my world premiere." Hannah, why don't you start?
I have the gift of reading close to 300 scripts each year, and so I read a lot of the plays that playwrights are writing in the country, and the gift of that, even if those plays are not chosen for this organization I work for that has very specific parameters and is doing something that I as a director am sometimes not as interested in, like that's separate. So then I get to just email those playwrights and tell them I'm their fan. Yeah. And hopefully start a conversation. And just most recently, and that conversation ideally is over years, right? I just did the workshop with a friend of mine who's a playwright at South Coast Rep, where we had been friends for 15 years, and I hadn't done one of her readings in 12. And so it's actually like humans meeting people, and who do you want to actually be in your community, and who do you want to like spend time in the room with, and what stories are they telling for me, instead of like, oh, how do I like grab for a play or grab for a playwright or try a thing. Like,
I feel like I've been really lucky being in LA. It feels like a huge push of incubators for new playwrights. And so me coming to LA initially in December 2018, I think it was actually you who said, hey, there's this company called Inkwell, and they do new play workshops, and they're looking for someone, maybe you'd be interested. So that was my first job in LA in 2019. Was stepping into John Lavelle's play Inhalation. So I think, yeah, for me, I've been really fortunate here to kind of keep connecting with people who will submit to an incubator of some sort or a lab of some sort. And I have met incredible playwrights who are now just really dear friends who, again, like, it's exactly what you're saying. Oh, the questions that you have or the mystery that you're trying to touch is a thing that I'm also interested in. So, okay, what can we do? How can we keep pushing this thing forward together?
I think it's all of the above, and also, you know, I'm already thinking through this past year, and I've done 3 readings already. There's just so much, like in the iceberg of new play development. There's so much of like readings, meetings with playwrights, meeting new playwrights, seeing if you fit. Sometimes you really do fit, and then do you continue on the journey with the play to production? And there can be a number of reasons why you don't, and not because you're not friends with that playwright. Oftentimes for business reasons or timing issues, but it is like any relationship. You know, you get to the end and you get to the world premiere, and your name is in the play that gets printed out, and it feels like such an incredible accomplishment to have been able to do that. But sometimes I think I'm too Pollyanna for this business, because I really do just want to make friends and run good rooms, and you hope that like doing good work is enough to be able to keep you, you know, moving forward, and hopefully that your skill is enough also to keep moving you forward.
I'd love to hear from everybody. How do you guide a new play through a development process?
I mean, I feel like my approach is like being a play doula or like a locksmith, that I'm there listening very intently. Like, I feel like I'm like Jane Goodall in the wilds, you know, just like watching it in its natural habitat. You know, what is it that the playwright wants to accomplish? How is this play manifesting? What is it that it wants to say, so that we're not fighting against it? And I think for me, the approach is that, you know, we know the play is not perfect, but the approach is that the play is perfect, right? And that everything that we're doing, the acting and the pacing through it and the hearing it, is treating it like it is perfect until it's not. Right? And then when it's not, and when it's not working, then the questions start, you know. I mean, we've always been asking, like, why this play? Why right now? What are you trying to accomplish? Is it accomplishing the thing that you're trying to accomplish? And then when it's not working, or when it's not doing the thing, okay, what is it that can help the play? And always, I think it's in service of the play.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not my job. A play is not a thing to be fixed. And so it's not my job to like fix it, right? I am constantly thinking about how, like, I am the first audience. So how am I hearing it? And am I hearing and seeing the thing that the playwright wants me to hear and see? And above all, we are taking care of the play first. And so it's like my job is to do the play as you've written on the page, and then maybe we have a side conversation of like, there's something here that's opening up these other questions that I have. Are those questions you want me to ask, right? And so how do I continue to be curious about the thing as we move it from the page up on its feet, right? And as those questions are starting to come up, right? It's just like, what are the cascading questions? Do you want me to be asking those? And if not, then how do we sort of button up some of those things, you know? Yeah.
I think also something that comes to mind in terms of, like, playwright is guide star, always, and like you say, not trying to fix something or really trying to listen and ask questions. And then I think also trying to make sure that everyone else in the room is inspired and around, or it understands the assignment, which is particularly with actors and designers, to be brave and to understand that things might change very late in the game, maybe even sometimes. Maybe you have to, like, because you're discovering in the room, and then you're discovering in the room during tech, and then you're discovering in the room, so that, like, the changes that might come from a playwright discovering things might happen very late in the game, so that hopefully the actors are going to come along with that, because sometimes you might make changes that are very deep for an actor in terms of, like, I've just constructed a whole story that goes this way, and now you're taking away that whole chunk because it's and you actors understanding it's for the betterment of, and also, but we have to perform this in 2 days. You know, so, like, how to be able to have be understanding of what that process is throughout, and not just like, hey, surprise, we're going to make some changes, so that everybody in the room is along for the new play ride, you know, and game for it.
And to that end, you know, smart actors are such a gift to the new play process, and actors who are so veteran at the new play process, because while the director is like watching out for the whole story, the actor becomes very quickly the master of the track. And when the track is missing a couple, you know, I don't even know the railroad terminology. You know, the slats. Yeah, right? Like, they'll very quickly have a question about that, or track that something's not quite hitching, or, you know, the reason why it's not taking off, and can sense that and can ask the right kind of questions to unlock it, versus I think people who might be new to the play process or not be accustomed to it might be tempted to give prescriptive notes or start to give ideas that are not at all what the playwright is investigating. So I always say, like, you know, when you have smart actors on your team, like, the new play process lives and dies by that. It's like such a gift.
I'm curious to ask, like, with O, for example, it's establishing its own logic, and I feel like that happens a lot with new plays, right? Like, and I know all of you have directed plays that are, you know, attempting something structurally or formally that we haven't seen before. So how do you kind of like step into that unknown when you're guiding a new play, figuring out the form that it's taking?
I think it's about, like, confusion versus complexity. Right? That, like, something can be complex and start to get clearer and clearer, or live in the mystery of storytelling as you keep working on it, and you can see, like, oh, there's so much possibility there as you start to dirty your hands and you think about the design elements that might come into play. But if something remains confusing and there aren't, you know, like, answers, or at least the next question that starts to reveal itself. I know this is a very weird esoteric answer, but that's sort of like the guiding principle, right? Yeah.
Having to be comfortable in the I don't know,
Yeah.
and not just comfortable, but, like, excited about the I don't know is a big part of it. I'll use a very specific example in this here. So these ropes, right? These ropes that were talked about in design, and I was like, yes, that's a nautical, right? Yes, and, you know, couldn't play with them until, I don't know, the week before we got to preview, so tech, basically. And the whole time, like, you know, during rehearsals, I was like, maybe, is this a chance to use the ropes? I don't know. I don't know. Ooh, what are the ropes gonna do? Should I cut them? I don't know. You know, just because, like, just having that moment of just like, this thing we're not actually gonna be able to play with for a while, but it's going to be it's part of the world. It's part of what I want the world to be. And then once they were in, actors then getting like, oh, and then being like, no, you can, like, this can be part of what you're doing. Oh, you're going to move outside of, you're going to stay in the paint, but this is, okay, the boat. And then Maureen, one of our scenic designers, came to me during tech, and she was like, what if they change direction, or they go diagonal for the second act? And I was like, oh my God, thank you. That makes such perfect sense dramaturgically about where we're going in the second act, we're moving forward, all these things. And so then this, like, being able, that again, going back to, I was able to hang on in the I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think a play's logic, or like how the play lives in the theater, I think sometimes the key for me of that is actually the stage directions, which I know are controversial for directors. But I think, like, especially on a new play, the stage direction is where I see the playwright. And they're actually, even if they don't know it, they're telling me what kind of play it is. And I do a lot of comedies,
which is a lot about tone, and tone is really tricky, and it's a lot about like, is it that kind, is it slapstick, is it farce, is it this, does it know it's a play, are they hamming, like how do you sort of create or name the tone for the actors is just really tricky. And so it's like if I look at the puzzle that the playwright has laid out on the page and they're telling me what kind of play it is in the stage directions, then a lot of times once we get in the room, it becomes this instinctual thing of like Anne Bogart says it's like Vice or not Vice, and then like Miami Vice or not Miami Vice.
No, literally, totally.
It's in a book, she wrote it. And so I can like watch the thing and instinctually say like, that's not the play. That's actually not the right tone, so we have to shift, but I have to be able to name why. And so then where can I put language around the why for the writer if they're arguing with me about it, or the actors if they're arguing with me about it?
Yeah, picking off what you're saying with the stage directions too, I feel like the thing that I'm sometimes curious about is the things that are impossible. Like what is the impossible thing that the playwright is asking? And is that a physical thing, or is that an internal thing, or like what are we doing? And to be able to kind of work it out, yes, among the actors, but then also with the design team of like you're saying, how is this possible? For instance, in a play, 2 people have to crash through the ceiling and land on the floor. How are we making that happen? And it's essential to like how the world changes. Okay, great. How do we do that? And then for me, I think as a director, I'm like, fuck yeah, we're doing that. You know? So how can we come together as a team to problem solve it from the design point of view, and then how do we rally also the actors inside of that space to be able to problem solve down to, oh, actually we can make this happen.
Well, we're kind of already moving to production, but I'm curious to hear how you see your role as a director shifting from when you're in a development process, like you're workshopping a play, and versus when you're in production for a new play.
It's similar in terms of asking the questions of the design team. I always get like, I've had producers be like, what's your vision? And I'm like, oh, I hate that question. Because I really want the group to create a vision together. So then it's about how am I the guide? How am I the helper, the supporter to make a group vision happen? And there are some things like you say, like, you know, that are Vice or not Vice. And like, how do you say, I do have some ideas of what the parameters are. Of what I want, like, you know, choosing which orientation of the space is going to be, things like that. Totally, yeah.
Well, will you say something about that? Because for those of you who don't know, this is not how the theater always looks.
Yeah, the theater is different one of my goals this year as a producing artistic director was to have different configurations and really see what it was as a flexible space. What is that, you know, what's the cost in time and labor? Also, like, what does it do to keeping people on their toes when they walk in and they go, oh, this is different than what I remember, and how exciting that is. And then looking at this particular play in this space was like, oh, I would really like it to have this, again, this nautical boat forward kind of feel to it. We're going someplace. So and making a choice like that, then also, because then there were moments during the process where I was like, who made this stupid choice? You know, but also like, okay, that is going to be the container that we make this out of. But yeah, something about being a guide, a helper, a director. I mean, honestly, that's what you are, the director. Put on the little captain's hat and, you know, get behind and do the steering, right? I mean, that's what we do.
I love the thing that you say too about like not wanting to prescribe the vision of the thing, but like, again, coming back to the team as a whole, it is it can be such a deep collaboration as a whole, and so really relying on what you learn in the room at the table during the development process and what the actors are seeing. Like you said, actors are so smart that suddenly things keep clarifying. I think in the last process that I just worked on, just seeing how actors find the littlest thing that suddenly, oh, we can launch off of that because that knits to that and that goes over here. I think that's something that's really fascinating too. And I don't know, just trusting the vision of the team as a whole, it feels very important. And it's so delicious too when those little moments pop up of like what someone discovers suddenly unlocks something for the playwright, then that unlocks something maybe for the design team that then becomes a solid part of the world.
I think it's all about the text for me, and it's like, how are we hearing the text? How are they saying the text? What are we hearing as the text? And it's really based on just that, and that is just like 1/4 of what makes a play. And so then the design process is like, if ideally we get a development process where we can like kick the tires on the text as much as possible, so then you add in like 4 or 5 other brains in terms of a design team to then build out from there to build the other 3/4 of the play. I will say, if I am lucky enough to have a dramaturg in a new play process who's all the way through production, I do pay attention to the playwright, but like my job becomes the production, not necessarily the text on the page. And so having a dramaturg with that playwright to then, so they can ask those questions, because my attention then moves to the design team, to the actors, and the playwright doesn't take a second, doesn't like, it's not a ladder, but like there's a lot of other voices that I have to sift through to then be able to identify what is this moment. And so having a dramaturg next to the playwright is actually, that's a moment of like, the team is building, let's add in this other person.
That, I had a professor say that if you don't know how to direct a play with a light bulb and actors, then you don't know how to direct the play. And so from that principle, like depending on whether it's the first production or it's still a new play, but the 8th production of it, that also makes a difference as to how I am approaching production. Like the first production is so, you're married to the playwright and really talking to the playwright about how were they envisioning this play, where is the genesis of this play coming from, what are the big important metaphors, and for me, your set designer is your co-director, because once they start making decisions, right, you're locked into where entrances and exits are, and they're basically telling you how to use the space if you haven't asked for how to use the space. And then when you get to like, somebody's 5th or 8th production, but the playwright still wants to talk to you, about the play, then the opportunity becomes like, what haven't you seen in your play? How have the productions not either lived up to what you thought, or what are the important principles and ideals that you've been carrying forward with each production, of what you've been seeing, or where you feel like you're still curious about your play. And that always feels like a real opportunity to then take, and have a fresh take and approach to what the play is.
One last question for everyone. I'm curious to hear what you think the unique opportunities of making new plays in LA are.
I mean, LA is a new play town.
Yeah.
Like, it is.
Yeah.
I think there are probably more new plays that happen here than in New York.
More writers groups.
More writers groups, there's more writers, like, and the producers out here and the audiences out here know how to watch new plays, they know how to listen to new plays, and they also know how to produce them. And in other communities, I see less of that.
There's so many schools in LA. I mean, there's writers groups, and there's also universities and colleges and community colleges, and I feel like they're that looking for new plays. So even like the new plays that might have a production in a 99 seat, then they also might have might go and work at a college as well. Or you might, there are ways to work on new plays here that are more than just we're just gonna put it up once. I feel like it feels like, and I'm making a bit of an assumption, but in a lot of other cities, like a play gets one shot, then it's done. And it feels like plays have life here, or they start here and they go someplace in a way that is in terms of what the development scene is here.
I do agree that LA is very much a new play town, that so many incredible writers and incredible actors and incredible directors all live here. But my critique of it, that I will allow to be recorded,
Get it.
is that for whatever reason, the new play development isn't taken seriously by bigger houses here in LA, and it's quite annoying that it's that the new plays then, unless they're, like premiered in New York or by more New York identified writers, then it's not taken so very seriously. And I would hope that as we keep moving forward, that we are not so focused on, quite frankly, New York has historically been important because it's decided it's important for our industry. But LA is its own town with its own community, with its own needs and with its own issues and conversations, that I would wish that LA as a whole could also take itself much more seriously. And that includes also that the criticism of new plays can also be focused on what the tastes and what the needs of Los Angeles are.
Yes.
Yeah, the thing that I keep thinking of is, for me, that I love about the new play culture, it does feel like a culture, and it does feel like something that is really protected and also open, like you said, Jess, there's so many avenues to come in through schools or through putting on something yourself in your home, and getting your group of friends together. And then I think for me, the thing that feels really vital in that space of starting small, I'm working on something with a playwright right now, that they're like, let's do the reading in the living room. And then knowing for sure, that there's so many pathways to be able to go from living room to a small rehearsal table in some small room here to, hey, can we maybe use your space? We have a reading. Would you be interested in that? To the pathway to kind of advancing that feels very alive here. And I just appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity to connect large scale from such a small place.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.